Welcome back. You know, everyone wants to learn things, really get them, without feeling like you're wading through treacle, right? We all love those little aha moments.
Absolutely, that feeling of sudden clarity.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into something pretty interesting at that intersection. Learning a classic skill, playing the piano, but using something often seen as, well, a distraction. Games.
Right, we're looking at PianoPatrol. It's this software that claims to sort of revolutionize piano learning.
For everyone, too. Kids, students, adults who've maybe always fancied having a go.
Yeah, the idea is it combines gaming with actually learning piano. Makes it fun, supposedly effective, a lifelong skill through play.
And the really unique hook seems to be using a MIDI piano keyboard as the game controller.
Yeah.
That bit caught my eye.
That's the core concept, yeah. We've been digging into their materials, and it's all about game-based learning.
So it's not just like lessons with badges.
No, it seems deeper. It's structured like an actual action game, shooting things, hitting targets, clearing levels. But here's the clever part. Every action you take in the game is supposedly teaching you piano. Reading music, finger coordination, musical ideas. It's all baked in.
Huh. So the better you get at the game,
the better you get at the piano. That's the promise. You're essentially learning by doing, but the doing feels like playing a game.
that is interesting. Like sneaking the learning in. What could that actually mean for someone trying to pick up piano? Because, let's be honest, traditional lessons can be tough.
Well, that's one potential benefit, right? For total beginners, maybe it sidesteps that initial hump, the scales, the theory, which can feel a bit dry.
Yeah.
Instead, you're focused on, beating the next level. But it's not just for beginners, apparently.
Oh, no, so?
Well, even if you already play a bit, you could use it to tackle trickier pieces, break them down into these game-like sections, a different way to practice, maybe more structured.
And what about kids? They're often glued to screens anyway.
Exactly. That's a big angle. Kids often have that natural gaming instinct, good reflexes, hand-eye coordination. PianoPatrol tries to harness that, turn screen time into skill time, essentially. Make it feel less like homework, more like, fun.
So it can genuinely make learning easier, more enjoyable for almost anyone.
That seems to be the goal. Anyone who maybe finds the traditional path a little off-putting.
Okay, sounds great in theory, but let's get practical. What are the actual features? How does it work day to day? You get this software, then what?
They really push the simplicity. Plug and play is the phrase they use.
Okay.
You just connect a MIDI keyboard, we'll talk about which ones later, to your phone, tablet, or computer. And that's basically it.
No batteries. No charging the keyboard.
Apparently not for the keyboard itself. It usually draws power via USB, and the software is meant to just detect it automatically. No complex setup.
That is a big plus. Tech setup can be a real barrier sometimes. What else stands out?
Another really neat feature is turning any song into a game.
Any song?
Well, they have a library, but you can also import your own sheet music. It needs to be in the Music XML format, which is pretty standard for sharing scores digitally.
Right, Music XML. Got it.
PianoPatrol then analyzes the music and creates interactive game levels based on that specific song, tailored challenges.
Wow. Okay. Importing your own music? That's quite powerful. You could learn pieces you actually want to play.
Exactly. Opens up personalization. And there's also this piano karaoke mode.
Piano karaoke.
Sounds fun. Yeah, it lets you mute parts of the song, like the main melody or the accompaniment or both, so you can practice just your part while hearing the rest.
Ah, like playing with a backing track that's perfectly synced.
Precisely. And they even go a step further with content creation tools.
For users?
Yeah, users can upload their own Music XML files, build custom levels, even whole courses. You can add explainer videos, background music.
That sounds like something teachers could really run with.
Definitely seems geared towards educators or maybe very advanced self-directed learners, too.
Which brings us to the schools angle. The website mentions PianoPatrol for schools. That feels like a big area. How does that work?
It does seem like a major focus. They have this free pilot program for schools.
Free. What does that involve?
Well, they offer the full software, plus free MIDI keyboards and even earphones for a whole pilot class. It lets schools try it out with basically zero financial risk.
Free keyboards. That's pretty confident.
It suggests they really believe it works in a classroom setting. And alongside that, they've developed a full curriculum. It's called Journey into Music.
Okay.
It's got, get this, 109 progressive levels, takes students from absolute scratch to what they call a pre-intermediate level.
109 levels, so it's structured, follows a path.
Very structured. They say it aligns with music education standards, so it's not just random games.
What about the teachers? Is it easy for them to manage in a busy classroom? Tech can sometimes add more work.
They seem aware of that. That plug-and-play thing is key again. Minimal setup time, software finds the keyboard, and it even runs on students' own smartphones if the school doesn't have tablets or PCs for everyone. Adds flexibility.
So accessibility is a focus.
It seems so. The software itself is free, supports any MIDI keyboard, and they even mention helping schools get keyboards affordably if needed.
What are the actual learning goals for students going through this curriculum?
It's pretty comprehensive. Reading sheet music, obviously. Developing coordination for playing with two hands. Understanding basic music theory rhythm, intervals, dynamics, phrasing, even things like focus and coordination.
Okay, so it aims for real musical literacy, not just pressing buttons.
That's the claim. Currently, it works on Windows PCs and Android devices. They mention iOS support is planned.
Can you give us a flavor of the curriculum? Like, what does Course 1 look like?
Sure. Course 1 is all about getting started, mainly with the right hand. Levels have names like Let the Music Begin, then Introduction to Quarter Notes, introducing musical silence, which means rests.
Simple concept.
Very. It introduces notes like D and E gradually. By the end, students are playing really basic tunes like The Rose Cellar, understanding steps, repeats, basic rests. All right-hand focus to build that foundation.
Makes sense. Start simple. What comes next?
Course 2 builds on the right hand, introducing the thumb crossing technique. That's crucial for playing scales and moving around the keyboard more smoothly. It leads up to playing a C major scale.
Okay, extending the range, then the left hand.
Exactly. Course 3 brings in the left hand, introduces the bass clef reading notes for the left hand, and builds technique with exercises and simple pieces like arrangements of echoes of Carmina Burana or Carol of the Bells.
Familiar tunes help. What about putting hands together? That's often a big hurdle.
That's Course 4. Starts with just playing notes simultaneously in both hands, then moves to basic harmony and incorporating eighth notes, quicker notes using tunes like Old MacDonald and Jingle Bells.
Getting more complex.
Gradually, yes. Then Course 5 focuses more on musical expression. Things like playing loud or soft dynamics, smooth or detached notes, articulation, shaping phrases. It also introduces more complex hand positions, flats, and basic chords, triads, culminating in pieces like Deck the Halls.
Wow, that sounds like a really solid progression from zero to actually playing recognizable music with expression. Covers a lot of ground.
It really seems to lay out a comprehensive path for beginners.
Now, you mentioned MIDI keyboards earlier. For someone starting out, choosing the right keyboard is important. What advice does PianoPatrol give?
Right, you absolutely need a MIDI keyboard. Or if you have a digital piano or maybe an organ, it needs a MIDI out port. That's the connection.
Okay, MIDI is essential.
And they strongly recommend keyboards with touch-sensitive keys.
Why is that important?
Touch sensitivity means the harder you press the key, the louder the note sounds. Just like a real piano. It allows for dynamics, for expressive playing. It's pretty crucial.
Makes sense. What about the size of the keys? I've seen mini keyboards.
Yeah, they discuss that. Standard keys are, well, standard piano size, about 22, 23 millimeter wide. Mini keys are smaller.
Pros and cons.
Standard keys give you that authentic feel, good for learning proper technique. Mini keys can be easier for small children's hands. They're more portable, often cheaper.
Right.
But they do mention that switching from mini keys to standard keys later might feel a bit weird, require some adjustment.
Okay, something to consider.
Yeah.
And the number of keys. Does it matter?
Yes. They say 32 keys is a minimum. You'd probably outgrow 25 keys very quickly.
So more is better.
Preferably 49 keys, they suggest. Gives you more room to play without constantly hitting octave up-down buttons.
Which most keyboards have.
Most do, yeah. Those buttons shift the keyboard range up or down an octave, so you can access all the notes even on a smaller keyboard, but it's less convenient.
And full 88-key pianos.
Generally too big and maybe unnecessary for starting with PianoPatrol, they suggest. More cumbersome.
What about price? Do you need an expensive keyboard?
Not necessarily. They point out that while pricier keyboards might feel nicer, better build, key action, the sound, actually comes from the PianoPatrol software on your computer or device.
Oh, so the keyboard is just the controller. The software makes the noise.
Exactly. So you don't need to break the bank. They even suggest a couple of specific models.
Oh, yeah.
The MIDI+ AKM 320, that's a 32-key mini keyboard, very affordable. And the Nectar SE49, which is a 49-key standard-size keyboard, more of a step up, but still reasonably priced.
Good to have concrete options. Seems
Right.
like they want to make the hardware accessible too.
That's the impression, definitely.
Now, if someone really gets into this, you mentioned a pro version, PianoPatrol Pro, what does that add?
So the basic software is free, but Pro unlocks everything, no limitations. The big additions are things like detailed performance tracking and analytics.
So you can see your progress. Weak spots, maybe?
Precisely. Graphs, stats, that kind of thing. It also gives you the full exercise library, lets you customize difficulty more finely, and enables that play-along mode where the backing track follows your speed.
That sounds useful.
And better integration for using your own sheet music. It seems aimed at people who are serious about progressing, or again, teachers wanting to create really customized plans for students.
Cross-platform, too.
Yep. Works across Windows and Android, and they offer a satisfaction guarantee.
Okay, so a clear upgrade path for those who want more features. How do people actually get their hands on this? Where do they download it?
The Piano Patrol website is the place to go. There's a download section. Piano Patrol 2 is the current version for Windows.
And for Android.
Android users get it from the usual app stores, I assume, but they'll need that adapter cable. A USB-C OTG adapter
Duty.
on the go. It lets you plug a standard USB device, like the keyboard, into a phone or tablet's USB-C port. They note you usually have to buy that separately. They're inexpensive, though.
Right, so check the website for downloads and setup details.
Definitely. All the info should be there.
Okay, let's try and boil this down. We've covered a lot. What are the absolute key takeaways for you from this deep dive into Piano Patrol?
Well, I think the main thing is it's a genuinely different take on learning piano.
Yeah.
It really leans into gamification, blending game mechanics with a proper structured curriculum.
Not just playing at piano, but actually learning through a game.
Right. And it seems designed to be really accessible for beginners, kids, adults, and potentially very useful in schools, too, given their pilot program and curriculum.
And the big pluses seem to be making it fun, which is huge for motivation.
Huge.
Having that clear step-by-step learning path, developing real skills, reading music, playing with both hands,
Musical understanding.
and keeping it accessible. Free software works with affordable keyboards.
Exactly. It tries to remove those common barriers by boredom, cost, complicated setup that make people give up on learning an instrument, using the fun of games to make the learning stick.
It's a compelling idea.
Yeah.
So for you listening, think about this. What if that pull towards playing games could actually lead you to playing music?
Yeah, imagine channeling that focus and enjoyment into learning Bach instead of, blasting aliens. Although you are kind of blasting targets here.
Huh, true. But what new tunes could you unlock? Or maybe think bigger. Could this kind of approach change how music is taught in your community, in your kid's school?
It's definitely food for thought.
It is. We'd encourage you to check out the Piano Patrol website, look at the free software, see if this blend of gaming and learning strikes a chord. It might just be the way you finally learn that lifelong skill.